The monkey's paw. Once upon a time, an old man named Mr. White received a mysterious monkey's paw from a friend who had obtained it during his travels in India. The paw was said to have magical powers, which would grant 3 wishes to whoever possessed it. Mr. White and his family were initially skeptical of the paw's power, but after some coaxing, they decided to make a wish. The first wish was made by Mr. White's son, Herbert, who wished for £200 to pay off the mortgage on their house. To their surprise, the wish was granted the next day, but not in the way they had hoped. Herbert had died in a work accident, and the company gave the family £200 in compensation. Grief-stricken, the family realized that their wish had come at a terrible cost. Despite the tragic outcome of their first wish, Mr. White and his wife were tempted to make a second wish. They wished for their son to come back to life, but nothing happened. Later that night, they heard a knocking at the door, and Mr. White realized with horror that it might be his son. He desperately wished that the knocking would stop, but it continued until his wife made a frantic wish to send their son back to the grave. In the end, the family realized the terrible consequences of their wishes and destroyed the monkey's paw, hoping to prevent anyone else from experiencing its cursed power. The Ugly Duckling. Once upon a time, there was an egg in a duck's nest. When the egg hatched, a strange-looking duckling appeared. The other ducks immediately noticed that he looked different from them and began to make fun of him. The poor duckling was very sad and didn't understand why he was so different from his brothers and sisters. He tried to make friends, but the other animals continued to mock and tease him. Eventually, he decided to run away. The ugly duckling traveled far and wide, enduring many hardships and dangers along the way. He was often hungry and tired, and he had to fend off predators who saw him as an easy target. Despite everything, he never lost hope. One day, the ugly duckling stumbled upon a group of swans. When he looked at his own reflection in the water, he realized that he too had grown up into a beautiful swan. The other swans welcomed him into their group, and he was finally able to find acceptance and happiness. The Emperor's New Clothes. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who was very fond of new clothes. 2 cunning weavers came to the emperor and promised to make him a suit of clothes that was not only beautiful, but also invisible to anyone who was stupid or unfit for their position. The emperor was delighted with the idea of having such a special suit and gave the weavers a large sum of money to start working on it. The weavers pretended to work day and night, but in reality, they were not weaving anything at all. When the emperor sent his advisors to check on the progress of the suit, they were too afraid to admit that they could not see anything. The weavers assured them that the fabric was magnificent and that only those who were stupid or unfit for their position would not be able to see it. The emperor was eager to see the new suit, but when he put it on, he too saw nothing. However, not wanting to appear foolish, he paraded around the town in his new clothes, with his advisors and subjects admiring the beauty of the non-existent fabric. The Lion and the Mouse. Once upon a time, a lion was sleeping in the jungle when a mouse ran over his nose, waking him up. The lion, angered by the mouse's audacity, caught him in his paw and was about to eat him. The mouse, however, begged the lion to spare his life, promising that he would repay the favor one day. The lion laughed at the idea of a tiny mouse ever being able to help him, but he was feeling merciful that day and let the mouse go. Later, the lion was caught in a hunter's trap, and he roared in pain and desperation. The mouse, hearing the lion's cries, rushed to his aid. He gnawed through the ropes of the trap, freeing the lion. The lion was amazed that the little mouse had kept his promise and saved his life. From that day on, the lion and the mouse became the best of friends. The lion realized that even the smallest and seemingly weakest creatures can be of great help, and he never underestimated anyone again. The moral of the story is that kindness is always rewarded, and we should never judge others based on their appearance or size. The Lion and the Mouse is a classic tale of friendship and mutual respect that has inspired generations of children to be kind to others, no matter how small or insignificant they may seem. The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Once upon a time, the town of Hamelin was overrun with rats. The townspeople tried everything to get rid of them, but nothing worked. One day, a mysterious piper dressed in colorful clothing appeared in the town, promising to rid it of the rats for a large sum of money. The piper played his magical pipe and led the rats out of the town and into the river, where they all drowned. The townspeople were overjoyed and grateful to the piper, but when it came time to pay him, they refused to give him the agreed-upon amount. Feeling betrayed, the piper vowed revenge. The next day, he returned to the town, but this time, he played his pipe not for the rats, but for the children. The children, enchanted by the music, followed the piper out of the town and into a hidden cave. The townspeople were horrified to discover that their children were missing and realized too late that they had made a terrible mistake by not paying the piper. They begged and pleaded with the piper to release the children, but he refused, and the children were never seen again. The moral of the story is that one should always keep their promises and not betray those who have helped them. The Pied Piper of Hamelin is a cautionary tale of the consequences of greed and the importance of keeping one's word. It has captivated audiences for generations with its unforgettable characters and haunting melody.